Welcome back! Today we'll work on the About Me part. But it's not about me, it's about our client Jane. Let's take a quick look at our prototype to plan our work. We have an exciting task ahead. Want to know why? Look at the About Me section in the prototype. On the left, a big picture takes up half the space. You will learn how to make images fit like this. On the right side are a few things: a headline, some text, a call to action button, and social media buttons. We don't have to make this from scratch. We can use what we've done before. Here's how we'll work on this section. First, we will make the layout. We'll make a plan and divide the section in half. Then, we'll work on the headline and text. Our client Jane gave us some words about herself, and we will use them. Next, we'll make the call to action button and the social media icons. You know how to do this, so prepare for some work without my support. We will also make the picture on the left look nice. We will learn new things about using pictures and new CSS properties. We will also talk about image compression and preparing them to use on a website. In the meantime, I'll also tell you about the order of CSS properties. You'll learn different ways to organize CSS properties, making them easier to find later. Plus, you'll have the chance to decide which method works best for you. There's a lot to learn, and you will do some of it yourself. Let's start right now with the layout. You might see that the way we're splitting the content in this section looks like the last section called Hero. Both sections are divided in half, with different things on each side. I won't make you listen to the same theory again. I'll give you a serious task right now. Yes, the more you work by yourself, the faster you learn to make awesome websites. Please take a look at my sketch on the slide. The main thing is a section. We will break the content into two parts. We'll create two divs for that. One will have the class About Image Container and the other About Content. We will also change the background color of the whole section and make the two parts sit next to each other using the display property with the value flex. Here's what you have to do. Add the About class to the section. Inside the section, make two divs with the classes About Image Container and About Content. Make sure the picture part is on the left and the content part is on the right. You don't need to fill the parts right now with content. We'll do it later. For now, your task is to prepare a layout. Make the section a flex container so the two divs sit next to each other. And change the whole section's background color to 144272. It's good to try this task on your own. Don't just wait for my answer. Try it yourself first. Look at the code we wrote already, and if you need help, watch the video where we created the previous section's layout. Pause the video now and start working. We'll meet again soon to discuss the solution. I hope the task went well for you. I also hope you're noticing some repeating patterns in our work. That's what being a front-end developer is like. You don't have to figure out everything again and again. I prepared a completed version of the code while you were working. Let's review it together so you can compare it with your code and make corrections. We won't be writing the code letter by letter, so feel free to pause the video at any moment if you need more time. Now, let's see how the code should look after solving this task. There's a section with a class. Inside are two parts, one for an image and the other for content. If you have them in reverse order, please correct that. If you put the content div first and the image second, aligning them properly with the image on the left and the content on the right will be more challenging. That's all for the HTML part. Now let's move to the CSS. I created a flex container from the section element and changed its background color. As you can see, I've added these properties to the About class. And of course, I put a new comment here because it's a code for a new section, right? Don't worry if your section is invisible on the page for now. There's no content yet. What's important is that we've prepared the layout for further work. We can put some temporary text in each div to ensure it works. Add some text to About Image container and About Content, and look at it in your browser. The About section is there and the background color has changed. That's great. Then, if you look closely in the inspector, you'll see the divs are next to each other, right? Just what we wanted. But the divs don't have the right width yet. We need both of them to be exactly half as wide as the section. Right now, as you can see in the inspector, they only take up as much space as the text inside them. Why do we want them to be half the width of the section? Because in our prototype, the picture takes up exactly half of the section. So splitting it in half will be very handy, and we'll do that together now. What width should both divs have? And what unit should we use? Definitely not pixels. Why? Think about it. Users will view our page on different devices. These devices have various widths, right? A 15-inch laptop screen can fit more pixels in width than an 11-inch tablet or even smaller smartphone screen, right? We want each div to take up half the screen, no matter the screen's size. So pixels won't work. And I'll tell you what we'll use. Percentages. We'll simply specify that each div will have a 50% width. It's handy and it will work in every case. Write the classes About Image container and About Content below the About class. Enter a width of 50% in each of them. Let's see if it works. Yes, look at the inspector tool. Each part takes up exactly half the screen width. Even when I resize the browser window, their width adjusts to continue taking up 50% of the space. How cool is that? That's why using relative units like percentages is better than pixels. Why did we use percentage value here instead of units like rem, which we used with other elements? Because we want the width to change depending on the browser window's width, not depending on the root font size. As you remember from the CSS unit demo on CodePen, the size of an element with a percentage unit depends on the size of the parent element. In our case, it depends on the size of the About section. And the section changes depending on the window's width, and we adjust the div size to it, so they always make up 50% of the About section, right? That's what we want to achieve. If the entire section's width changes, the divs inside will also change, adjusting to half the section's width. That's how percentage-based elements work in action. Alright, great job! The section layout is ready. The first challenging task is behind you. Don't worry if something goes wrong. You will have more chances to practice in this challenge. Now let's move on to filling and styling the About Content div. See you soon! Hello again! This lesson is a great chance to review some of the HTML and CSS lessons we've done before. You will build on what you've learned and put it into action. Let's begin. we will be working on what's inside the About Content div. So let's first remove the temporary text. We don't need it anymore. We can remove it from the About Image Container div too. Next, let's decide what we will put in this part. Let's look at the prototype we have. We will only worry about the text for now. We will think about a button and icons later. There's a big title at the top in the center, and there's more text below it. Are you excited to try coding on your own? Using the prototype, create the things needed for this part. First, make a heading using an h2 tag. Put the words about me inside it. Then, make a paragraph element and copy and paste the text from the website content PDF file. As a bonus task, please try to center the heading. Can you remember how to do that? If so, great. If not, don't hesitate to search in previous videos or online for the information you need. Remember, you don't have to memorize everything as a programmer. Just know how to find what you need. Lastly, add correct class names to the h2 and paragraph tags. We will need it later to style them. Are you ready to code? Pause the video and let's start. And how did it go? It wasn't too hard, right? Here's an example of how the code should look. The h2 tag has the class About Content heading. Inside it, there is a text about me. Perfect. Below is the paragraph with the class About Content P. I create these class names in a similar way as in the Hero section, right? I copied the text from the website content PDF. And that's how your HTML should look. Next, let's see how we can handle the bonus task, centering the heading. I entered the class About Content heading and used the text align property to do this. Do you remember how we can manipulate text with it from one of our lessons? We can align it to the left with the value left, to the right with right, or center it with center. And that's the value I used here. And that's it. A simple and effective solution. Open your browser and see how the title is now in the middle. Okay, your task is done. Let's now add some more styles together. We will start with the heading and we'll make it bigger. Do you remember the Hero section's heading was 2.625 rem? I want to keep it the largest on the page, so let's make this one a bit smaller. 2 rems will be good. Remember, the heading in the Hero section also had a bottom margin to separate it from the rest of the text. Let's do the same here. Since we used a smaller font, let's create a smaller margin like 0.75 rem. It looks quite nice in the browser, doesn't it? Now let's move on to the paragraph. Here we'll do the trick with the text align property. We will use the justify value. What does it mean? It means our text will align in a specific way to both the left and right edges. Enter this in the CSS file under the class About Content P and see how it looks in the browser. Do you see how the text is aligned on both sides now? If you can't remember what it looked like, go into the Inspector tool, find the Text Align property, and uncheck it. You will temporarily turn it off. Can you see the difference? I think it looks more elegant now. Okay, the text looks pretty good, but we still have one more thing to do. Let's make some room for the text on each side. Let's write padding property and set its value at 8 rem. Great, good job. It looks well now. I have one more thing to discuss before we finish this video. We're going to talk about different ways to order your CSS properties. There's no right or wrong way. Browsers don't care about the order. We will use the random order technique in our course, and understanding other methods can be very useful, especially since different teams and companies may prefer different methods. Knowing them all gives you the flexibility to adapt to various coding environments. Let's jump in. First is alphabetical order. Organizing your properties from A to Z is as simple as it sounds. It lets you find properties quickly and is easy to maintain. But be aware, it might be confusing since related properties won't be grouped together. Next is type order. Here you will be grouping properties by their functions. It's more organized, showing how each property affects your design. However, it takes a bit more time to set up, and you'll need to know what each property does. And the last one is random order. This method doesn't follow any particular rule or structure. You write properties as they come to mind. On the one hand, it's the fastest way to code since you don't have to think about the order. On the other hand, it can lead to a chaotic and hard to maintain style sheet. So, what's the best method? That's entirely up to you. Try them all out and see what suits your style. Just remember, the goal is to keep your code clean and easy to read. We can now move on and start adding a call to action button and social media icons. Are you ready? I will see you in the next video. Hello! We'll do copy and paste work in this episode. Developers sure love that. We will reuse the elements we created before, the call to action button and social media icons. But wait, this episode isn't boring at all. We'll use the BEM modifier for the first time. With it, we'll change the color of the social media icons only in the About Me section. We will also arrange the button and icons together so everything is clear. Ready? Let's start the next lesson. First, we'll insert our call to action button and icons into the section. And it's easy, just copy the existing code from other places. Let's start by copying the button from the header, as we want to use the same download resume feature here. Place it below the paragraph and don't worry if it overlaps. We'll fix that soon. Next, we're adding our social media icons. Copy them from the footer, including their surrounding div, and paste them below the button. Now let's arrange them like our prototype. If you remember, the prototype has the button on the left, icons on the right, and a clear spacing between them. Remember how we achieved that kind of layout in our previous lessons? That's right, we've done this before. So, let's recreate that magic. To organize things, we need to wrap both the button and the icons inside a single div. How about we call it About Content Info? Have you got it? Great! Now, if you're thinking what I'm thinking, you know what's next. We're turning this div into a Flex container. Once you do, you should see your button and icons aligning side by side. Let's check the effect in the browser and see how it looks. Perfect. Alright, the positioning is looking good. But let's also add Align Item Center to perfect the vertical alignment. But we've got a small issue here. The icons seem a bit too close to the button. We will add a left margin to the icons. Here's the challenge. We want this margin only for this set of icons, not the ones we have in the footer. How do we achieve this? It's all about being very specific with our CSS classes. We'll use CSS to target only the social media class inside our About class. This way, we ensure our changes won't touch the footer's social media icons. So here's the plan. Within the CSS file, write the About class. Then, with a space, type the social media class. This means we want to add styles to the social media class, but only if it's inside the About class. Remember when we talked about the header? I told you about this trick. If you forgot, let's talk about it again. We talked about adding style to the paragraphs inside the card class. We didn't want to change all the paragraphs, just the ones in the card class. Similarly, we now want to change the social media class, but only when it's inside the About class. This means the social media class at the bottom of the page will stay the same. Alright, let's decide how much space to add. We will add space on the left side. Let's try 2 rem of margin. We also need space between the paragraph and the buttons. So we will add 3 rem of margin below the About Content P class. This is the same value we used in the Hero section, remember? Lastly, we're going to change the background color of the icons. Right now, you can't see the icon background because it matches the section color. We could use the same trick as before, right? We type About, then social media link, and then set a color of 0A2647. But I want to show you another way to use BEM. The way we did it first works great, but let's try something new. Do you remember our BEM lesson? We discussed blocks, elements, and modifiers. We will use the modifier now. It tells us the appearance or behavior of an element. It's great for changes like an icon background color. Let me explain how to use it. Looking at our HTML, every link has a class social media link. We want to change its background color, so we will add another class, social media link darker. Make sure you use 2 hyphens before the modifier. We're using darker because it's a darker color. Type the new class below the social media code and set the background color to 0A2647. As you can see, the icons in About Me have a darker background, but the ones on the footer stay the same. Remember, when you use a class with a modifier, you must also use the original class, in this case, social media link. This keeps the other styles. There are many ways to use modifiers. For example, in the case of buttons, we can define various modifiers related to size, big or small, colors, and many other attributes. Awesome, everything looks great. Our last task for this section is the image, but we will handle that after a short break. See you soon! Welcome to the 4th and final episode about building the About Me section. Today's work is pretty simple. Instead of learning lots of new things, we'll use stuff we've already learned. The videos are short today, so you won't spend a lot of time coding. That's a good thing. Go ahead if you want to take a break and do something fun. You've done a lot already. Our challenge is 21 days long, but don't feel you have to rush. Everyone learns at their own speed. And hey, if you want to take some days off, that's perfectly fine. The main thing is to understand what we are doing and to enjoy it. Every little step counts, and when you keep moving, even if it's slow, that's when the magic happens. Now let's talk about this video's task. Adding an image to the About Me section. We want it to look like the prototype. The image should fill all the space on the left side. How do we achieve this? I will guide you step by step. First, add the selected image to the project. Navigate to the Course Materials folder, access the Images folder, and drag the IT Girl PNG file into the project. Our client wants a picture of a cartoon girl with a laptop, so we'll use that one. Next, as you might guess, we need to include this image in our HTML code. Find a div with the class AboutImage container and add an img element inside it. Now, I have a quick exercise for you. From the attributes shown on the slide, identify which ones we will use for the img element. Please pause the video and take a moment to think about it. Please choose 5 of them. After that, please resume the video and check if you have chosen it correctly. Alright, let's discuss the attributes we'll be using. The first and very important one is the src attribute. Did you get that right? Add it to the code and provide the path to the image. Perfect. As you can see, the image now appears on the website. Let's move on. For styling in CSS, we'll need a class for this image. Add the attribute class and set its value to AboutImage. Well done. The next important attribute is the alt attribute. For its content, describe what you see in the picture. Let's input a girl sitting at the desk with a laptop. Excellent, you're doing a fantastic job so far. But we're not done with the attributes just yet. Which other attributes have you thought about? Hopefully they are the width and height. These two are essential as they determine the space the browser should reserve for the image when loading. Let's first check the dimensions of our file. You can of course use the inspector for this. As you can see, it has a width and height of 800 pixels each. Put these values into the width and height attributes. Perfect. The image is now ready for further work. Before we move on, I want to mention an important topic in a web developer's job: image compression. Our image has good dimensions now, 800 pixels width and height. But it's important to note that size isn't just about dimensions. The file size matters too. If your image has a large file size, it could slow down your website. Visitors don't like waiting, so we must ensure our images load quickly. This is where image compression comes in. If our image were large in file size, we turn to tools to help compress it. Websites like TinyPNG or Compressor.io are straightforward. Just upload the image and get a compressed version. It's that simple. If you prefer desktop tools, Adobe Photoshop or GIMP offer more control over the compression settings. Thankfully, our current image is well optimized, so this time there is no need for compression. But always remember to verify both image dimensions and file size before adding them to a site, ensuring optimal website performance. It's a very common mistake in web development. So what's an ideal image size? For general web usage, it should be no more than 200 kilobytes. If you find images larger than this, it's a red alert. Sometimes you may find images with sizes even above 1 megabyte. It's definitely too large. So always remember to check it before adding images to a website. A faster site provides a better user experience. Let's get back to the image now. The next step is to fit it to the width and height of the parent's div. As you might remember, we set the div's width to 50%. The image is currently thinner and shorter than the div. This issue is similar to other images, where the space below them is for descenders. Instead of switching the display property to block, we will take a different approach this time. Right now, when you resize the browser window, you will notice that the image doesn't adapt. It overlaps with the other half of the section. That doesn't look good. So what can we do? In CSS, we will set the image to have a height and width of 100% of its parent div with the class AboutImage. This way, the image will always fill half of the browser window. Sound complicated? It's simpler than you think. Just set the height and width properties to 100% in CSS. In your CSS file, set width and height attributes at 100% for an AboutImage class. And that's it. See the difference? The image will now never go beyond 50% of the entire window. Perfect. Plus, we've removed that extra space below. Great! But there's a catch. When you make the browser window smaller, the picture looks squeezed and bad, right? We can fix this with a CSS property called Object Fit. If you use the cover value for Object Fit on the About image, the picture will look right. It keeps its shape and might cut off a bit on the sides if it's too big. This is a great solution for images in responsive web design. You will find more information about the Object Fit property and its values in the additional materials. For now, we only use a cover value. The image looks fine, so we're done with the left side of the section. Let's get back to the right side now. We have two more topics to discuss. As you can see, the text isn't centered. It'd be nice for it always to be in the middle. I guess you already know the trick to achieve this. Take a moment, pause the video, and try centering the content vertically on the right side by yourself. We've used this method in the project before. First, try on your own, and then we'll review together. Did you succeed? Here's a little secret. This task was tricky. Yes, we've done this kind of trick many times. Why was it tricky? Let me explain. We will be using Flexbox here. First, add display flex to the About Content class. After doing so, take a look at your browser. Oops, the content is mixed up. But why? The default value for a flex direction property is raw. This means items are side by side from left to right. So how can we fix this? We can change the flex direction value to column. And now the items will stack from top to bottom. Now it looks better, but the content still isn't centered. Do you remember how we centered the content in other sections like the footer and header using align items? So adding this should work, right? Let's test it. Set align items to the center value and take a look in your browser. Only the button and icons are centered horizontally, not vertically. Why? Everything changed when we added the flex direction property with a column value. We switched the main axis and cross axis. As you can remember, the align items property sets items along the cross axis. And now the cross axis is from left to right, not from top to bottom as usual. So align items property is left to right now, not top to bottom. And this is why the task was tricky. We need a different property. We will use justify content property instead. It sets elements along the main axis, which is what we want. So replace Align Items property with Justify Content and look at the result. There you go! The content is now perfectly centered. Great! Alright, do you like our design so far? It's looking good, right? We still have exciting challenges ahead. For the About Me part, we're done. So take a break and get ready for more. We're diving into the Projects section next, showing our clients' best works. There's much more to explore and learn. So, stay with me.